Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. So today I'm going to be talking about the secret to getting so much gold as a jungler. You're going to see a game where the early game's definitely not going to go optimally and we're still going to find ways to get a lot of gold, and I'm going to really speak about how you're able to do that on jungle. And so starting off with just going through the early game as well, the reason that I'm pathing this way and that I'm starting on my blue side is because Ashe and Braum will absolutely destroy Vayne and Sona if they play properly. And so I have a winning matchup there, so I'm going to path towards that, whereas Riven will beat Darius rather hard. Or shouldn't beat him that hard, but should beat him. Like, early on, we see that he ends up blowing his flash. We can see on our mini-map, so we actually see that Darius is having a good start. But in terms of decision-making for where I would start to path, I'm going to start my pathing towards the stronger lane most of the time, which is why we're going to do that. And then we'll just skip through a little bit here because, you know, you guys don't really need to see the clear specifically. It's nothing really special. And if you're looking for like optimal clears, I don't recommend watching me play Xin Zhao. I recommend you guys go look up Wild Rift, top 1 China Xin Zhao or whatever, because these people have always mastered these clears. Whereas for me, I haven't mastered the clear. So I'd rather you guys learn from that type of thing because it's just going to be more effective. And then here we're going a pretty good build into squishies. We're going to go Youmu's and then we're going to go Trinity, because those items, and Sundered Sky after that. So those items are really going to help me one shot. And so we see early on, Wukong really dives for a gank and gets executed somehow. I don't really know what was going on top side, but then Riven got the kill. That was, I don't know what happened there, but that was an odd sequence early. But you see we're trying to make a play around the bot side because that's the lane we path towards. Nothing really happened, and so despite pathing towards a really strong lane, didn't really get much out of the pathing, and sometimes that's what ends up happening. But then we see a Twisted Fate ultimate onto our teammates, and so we go there to try to see if we can get anything done, where we do end up, I believe, killing, our teammate kills a TF, and then we have our ultimate onto Vayne, and I think we trade 1-for-1 here. No, we end up just flashing out, but we get a pretty good wave crash, and we now have the Ahri coming here, so we can end up setting up. I didn't need to really die here, but I was trying to just get the play to work out quick, and we crash a huge wave for our bot lane. Really good roam by the Ahri. Overall, this is a really good start for everyone apart from Baron lane, but Baron lane really is kind of getting screwed over because not only did their jungler gank him, where it did look like he could have just recalled and survived after based on what I saw on the mini-map, but still, he gets ganked once, and then their jungler, instead of pathing normally, it goes back and ganks again. So definitely unfortunate for the Darius. Probably he could have played it better, but also really unfortunate for him. And then here, you're going to see how this is kind of how the game ends up going pretty bad. So I thought I can kill Wukong. I try to smite because I feel like it might be the difference between one auto, and he's literally 1 HP. Very sad about that. Could have smited my camp to heal, which would have been safer, but to me, I was like, oh, I need to kill him really quick because otherwise his Q might come back up and I could die. So that was kind of my thought process where I didn't want to do that, but ends up kind of not working out very well. And so we haven't talked much about gold yet this game, and the reason is just because it's pretty straightforward for the early game. Typically, the way you're going to do it, you clear whatever side of the map you clear, then you clear the other side, then maybe you look for a quick gank. If a gank doesn't work out, you go back to this side, like how I've done here, going back to blue side, then you clear your blue side, and then after you clear your blue side, you go to your red side, clear your red side, and you just want to make sure you clear each camp twice. That's really, or each side of the map twice. And so that's what we're able to do. I set up a little later than I should have here because you're going to see I'm going to be recalling on the not the best timer because I'm going to be a little late to the objective. So if I was a little quicker, which you kind of saw is because I died to that Wukong right on the blue buff, but if I was a little quicker, we'd be in a much better spot. Whereas here, what ends up happening, we try to steal, try to fight the Wukong, and kind of get into a pretty messy spot here because you're going to see in a second that their top laner is going to rotate, and so it's going to be a 5v4, and the fight is definitely not going to go great. So really bad early game here, as you could see, and we don't get the smite. And so this is kind of an important thing because, again, you guys understand farm your camps, get the gold, you know, from just clearing your camps efficiently, clear your camps when they come up. But what I want to talk about is a lot of this kind of mid-game getting gold on junglers, which is what people don't focus on. Again, people know farm your camps. At least I hope you guys do by this point in time. When your camps are up, you should pretty much just farm them. But when it comes to other points of the game, people really need to understand turrets, especially, as a really valuable form of getting gold. And so here we get the Herald, or the Ensemble, whatever you want to call it. And we end up going and dropping it mid lane right away, going back once again to farm our camps. And so you see me farming all of my camps here pretty much as soon as they spawn, which is, again, why we're going to skip through because these are pretty straightforward things that we understand. I see a possible gank, so I do decide to skip a camp because I'm like, oh, this could actually work out, right? And so every once in a while, you might skip a camp to try to get a gank to work out. In this case, we kill the Vayne, but we end up dying afterwards. If I'd played that cleaner mechanically and ulted quicker, it would have been better, but play still works out because our Ahri gets a bunch of kills. And like I said, we skipped our camp so that we could make sure that gank would work out because, again, it looked very likely. They were low health. They were going on our teammates, and so that's one of the few times where I'm going to skip a camp because I'm like, oh, this is going to be a pretty likely gank. And then I realized that the Wukong's probably going to build Serpent's Fang, so I end up not going Gargoyle, which is an important thing to note as well. A lot of people would probably build Gargoyle in a situation like that, but I saw that he had a serrated Dirk, which to me implied he was probably going to build Serpent's Fang, which he does. And so, or at least there was a chance he would build it. And then I do see that he does end up building it, as you'll see in the game. But this is the first point in the game where we kind of do what I'm trying to tell you guys. And so after I farm these camps, what do? Instead of going mid lane with my team, going bot lane where my team is, since it's over 7 minutes and 30 seconds, I go and farm an entire side wave, basically 2 side waves, and then I try to get the turret afterwards. And the reason is because the game's not going that well, but even if the game is going well, playing for turrets is important. When you don't have camps up, these turrets are one of the most valuable forms of gold that you can get. And so I decide, again, I get an entire wave, I get half of a different wave, and then now I'm even getting part of this wave, all just for the gold of the turret. I don't actually care about dying here because the game's going bad. I'm pretty behind compared to the enemy. Like, keep in mind, I'm down 2k gold to their jungle. I want you to know that I'm down 2k gold to their jungle to pay attention to what ends up happening during the mid game and how the gold like swings really hard. So that turret gives us, plus the wave gives us way more value than our death gave to the enemy. 100% making the game a lot closer, giving global gold to my teammates as well, and distracting the enemy so my teammates are in a good spot because 2 people had to kill me there. Whereas now my team is in a better spot, or I was down 1.5k or something like that. But now I'm even gold with the Wukong. So I was not down 2k. I think I was exaggerating, or I thought I was down 2k, but I think I was down like 1k, right? And now their jungle and I are even in gold. And then what do? Again, I go towards the top side because I'm not contesting this dragon. My team is way behind. Contesting that dragon is just a suicide mission. And so instead I go top side. And now what ends up happening is the enemy chased me again. And so now the enemy jungle and the enemy top laner are both here right as dragon is spawning. And when this type of thing happens, your teammates get free gold. My teammates got the mid wave. My teammates had a chance to end up rotating or making a play where once again I'm drawing multiple people to me. Now what should have happened is my team should have all went topside, made the play with me, played for that turret, so the enemy have to choose between dragon and the turret. Teammates aren't very good. That's a pretty frequent thing. It's all right. That happens. I don't mind. But because of that, it still ends up going bad, right? And so this game is still very bad. We're down over 6k gold. Game as a whole just not going very well. Ahri is really the only one who's very strong. And you can kind of see, a lot of kind of things going wrong still at this point. But the really important thing to note is how I'm making a lot of gold for myself on the side lane. And again, lots of deaths here. Don't play this game perfect by any means. Shouldn't have gone up that far. And the game, again, going very poorly. 7 deaths at this point. A lot of mistakes. Again, not saying I didn't make mistakes this game. The point is, my gold is still close to the enemy. Like, they have, 9.8k gold Wukong. I'm 8.6k. He's 10k now. So I'm down 1,500, being 2-7 in a game where my team is down an absurd amount of gold, and the early game went very, very poorly. And that's because we're playing around these gold bounties well. So what do I do again? Bot wave. I don't go mid with my team to go die in another fight because we're going to die because, the game is just not going well, right? Obviously. And so instead, I push this bot wave out. I play for this gold bounty. I don't actually care about dying. I don't even care about the Baron because we're down 8k gold at this point. I accidentally autoed the Wukong. I meant to auto the turret there, so I end up taking more damage than I should have. But then we have kind of a funny little fight here where we're just chasing or trying to avoid the Wukong, basically. We end up going and just stealing his camp to heal off. But basically, when we're down 8k gold, we're going to lose Baron probably anyways. So I might as well get some gold out of this Baron if they do get the Baron. And what happens instead is because their jungle's an idiot, he ends up chasing me on bot side, right? If he was smart, he goes Baron. And we are in a relatively not great spot here. And then he ends up chasing me again and just letting me kill him. So shout out to him for being an idiot. He's a challenger player somehow. I don't know how he's challenger. But then we end up escaping here, going to the opposite side when the enemy are chasing us. And so this is the nice thing too. A lot of times on these type of Baron plays, the enemy end up doing really, really dumb things like this. And then because I see all of them there, I'm trying to sneak my way into Baron and hoping that Darius realizes he could sneak too, because the enemy don't have vision. And so this is kind of a play where I'm trying to make a really sneaky play, and then Darius, because he's kind of a silly goose, doesn't really realize what he needs to be doing. But it kind of works out anyways. You're going to see how this fight's going to end up working out pretty well. And a lot of the reason why it works out is because my teammate just, gets some nice kills here and everything, but is because we're dragging them all across the map instead of just fighting them evenly here. And unfortunately, I make a dumb play to die here. If I just didn't die, then we'd maybe be able to get Baron after, but it still works out pretty well for us, obviously. It kind of starts to come back a bit. But basically, when you're playing for these turrets on the side lane, you're playing for this gold on the side lane. After you have your camps up, you're doing these things rather than just going mid constantly. You saw a lot of situations where instead of going for mid lane, I went for, my camps and then the waves / turrets after that, and that's where I got a lot of my gold from. It also draws the enemy to you, and you can see now I'm even gold with the Wukong at this point. I'm 3 and 8, he's 8 and 4, and we're even gold. Because we're playing around turrets, we're playing around gold bounties, we're playing around waves, we're playing around camps, whereas Wukong is fight, 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 right? And so even in a game where all of his fights work out, he gets a bunch of kills, and it works out really well. When you're drawing the people to other places on the side lane, sometimes they end up chasing in stupid ways, and you're able to get a couple kills, and all of a sudden the game that looked unwinnable is winnable because you were drawing people to other points of the map rather than them just, 5v5ing over and over. Because if I just tried to 5v5 the enemy over and over with how ahead they were, we would have lost. But instead, we focus on the things that actually matter, which are waves, turrets, all these types of things. Darius ends up going in and dying. This Darius, he was pretty much playing, pretty bad the whole game, but then got that one quadra kill. And so it was kind of funny to get a random quadra kill like that. But he gets caught here. Kind of unfortunate. So now we kind of just have to be patient at this point. Now we're strong enough where we could fight the enemy, especially if they try to force a Baron or something like that. And so the Riven ends up going in and dying here, which is really good for us. And then now we can go on to the Vayne, ult in, one-shot the Vayne, because again, our build is really good against squishies. And now we're just kind of chasing the enemy down. Really good play by the Ahri. My Ahri played really well this game. So shout out to Ahri. And then we end up going and chasing Twisted Fate after, getting an insane amount of damage from the Sundered Sky crit. And now we just force the Baron. And we know Wukong could come and steal this, but at this point, worst case, he steals it, and then we kill him, and we get Dragon, so it's not even that bad, even if that happens. And yeah, I mean, just overall kind of chilling regardless. And he goes in a bit early, so we end up chasing him. He tries to get the steal, but we just get, again, the Sundered Sky crit, and we end up killing him. Once again, going for the wave. Notice how, again, going for these waves, getting as much gold as possible. Everyone on the enemy team is dead, so I might as well get a wave. Just accelerating my gold a bunch. And all of a sudden, I have over 1k gold more than the jungle, and I have the most gold in the game. So, at this point in the game, literally just able to catch up to everyone to get as much gold as we possibly could have. And now we're in a position to carry despite, having 8 deaths and the early game going so poorly. Pretty much everything going wrong after, like, the very start of the game. Like, when it came to, especially the Riven into the Darius, and then that 1 HP, death into the Wukong, and everything like that. And so then the enemies start chasing our teammate on side lane, and because I'm so strong at this point, I know that I can kill them. So we end up using second ability plus flash to go onto the Twisted Fate, and there's just no way they can kill me at this point, so we end up getting them both. And now, pretty straightforward, right? We have the Baron, we're going to push out the side lanes. Once we push out the side lanes, we can use that to go towards mid if we need, or we can just play for the bottom lane turret. Really, either play would work at this point. The main goal is just get as many of these turrets as possible. So we end up getting that bottom lane turret, getting as much from the wave as we can, then rotating into the mid. And for some reason, again, their Wukong decided to fight me. Don't know how this guy's challenger, but he is. And what do we do now? We push the mid wave, focusing on getting these waves pushed so that our team can get a lot of value out of this Baron. Now taking the camps from the enemy as well. So you can just see I'm constantly, as soon as a fight goes well, looking for gold on the map. Whether it is from the waves, whether it's from the turrets, whether it's from anything, I'm just getting as much gold as I possibly can. We take literally his entire red side, then we get these minions, and then after that we end up going for the turret, and I try to outplay him here. Little greedy by me. I do kill one, but definitely a bad play overall, because the Elder is spawning soon, and so way too aggressive. And yeah, I was definitely a bit aggressive this game. I'm 9 kills, 9 deaths. Definitely a weird scoreline. I don't think it's very common that this is my scoreline, so kind of an interesting game, kind of a fun game to play. But we buy the TP because we realize 5 seconds between our death and the Elders, so I'm gonna need to be in a position to TP right away. I'm hoping that someone on the enemy team ints or does something dumb, because we were mounting a great comeback, and then yeah, that was just a really bad play by me to die. Got a bit cocky for sure, but even here you can see now I'm 17k gold to Wukong's 13.5, and you can just see how every time that something goes right for me, squeezing as much gold out of it as possible, whereas every time something goes right for him, he just recalls. He doesn't really take as much from it as he could. And then shout out to Ari for getting this pick here. Like, holy crap. The Ari carried for sure. But yeah, now I have my TP and we can just go on the Elder because their jungle died. And it's pretty straightforward, right? We just, if the enemy come in, we can ult or whatever. We can fight them if we need, but I'm confident that I'm going to be able to smite this because their jungle's dead. And they don't have any champions like Orianna who could one-shot the smite. So we just end up flipping the smite. We end up smiting it at 680, which is pretty good. Pretty good timing on the smite, and then we just win the game off that. So basically, the thing that I wanted you guys to take away from this game as a whole is that a lot of gold can be generated from the side lanes, more so even than just your camps. You have to farm your camps efficiently. That is extremely important. But after you've farmed your camps, after you've done these things, you need to make sure that you are focusing really hard on the waves, because those are really how you're going to get a lot of extra gold, and playing around turrets as well. So if you're confused at what to do in the mid game as a jungler, instead of just going mid when your team is fighting, make sure you're focusing more on these waves and these turrets, unless of course there is something like an objective up that you need to be at. Then in that case, you can go mid with your team, go around the objective. But if that's not the case, then you'd rather make these plays on side lanes, even if sometimes you die for a turret. You saw I had multiple deaths for turrets this game that were 100% valuable because they helped me get much closer to coming back in a game that was really difficult. And then we end up being able to get the MVP here. I'm trying to show the end screen, but yeah, I think it's here. Yeah, there we go. So there's the end screen. 10, 10, and 11 might be the weirdest scoreline I've ever had. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.